Hello there, welcome back. This is Barb Pask. Try to think of something different to do. Keeping myself busy these days because we're all stuck in the house. Have an 8x10 panel taped up here, and I set up a still life. See if I can show you what I got here. Tilt it down. White pitcher, white plate, some red geraniums, and a couple apples. And my thought, what I'm going to do here is I put out a big blob of burnt sienna. I don't typically use burnt sienna. I used to use it a lot, and I know a lot of people do, but I took it off my palette for some reason several years ago. Went to a workshop, and I don't know, it was one of the colors he didn't like, and I took it off. I had to beat the hell out of this lid to get it off, but it's a big tube of burnt sienna. It's a mess. And I put a big glob of that out. And what I'm going to try to do tonight is to just paint this in values. And then let it dry. We'll come back another night and try to apply color on top. I don't know if you've ever worked that way. Kind of fun. Doesn't have to be burnt sienna. I've done it with other colors. So this is what I'm thinking is we will get our drawing on, try to get our values correct, and then I think I'll grab my iPad and we'll photograph it, and we will photograph the setup and convert them both to black and white and see how close I got. A lot of whites, so that'd be interesting. I played around with the light. It's always something I do, so I've got some nice shadows on the apples. I like the shadow under here really well. And I like the way the geraniums are catching light too. I do have an object called a Picture Perfect viewfinder. It's really beat up. I've had it a long time. It's got a lot of different things on it. It's got little windows that you can use with composition lines. There's your value scale. But it has these red windows, which is really cool. They're a little trickier when you're looking through at red, I have to admit, but you look through these and they help with value. Obviously makes it all your setup all red, and it shows you where your values are. But again, it is tricky with reds. But that's a useful tool that I've used. You can tell I've used it, man, it's beat up. I am not delicate with things as I should be. All right, we'll get you turned back around so you can see things. Let's see, I'm trying to get you kind of centered on the, try not to cut any of it off. I did that one night unintentionally, I'm sorry about that. Make sure you can just, all right, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to use my viewfinder. I think what we'll do first is I think I'm just going to put a wash of this color on the canvas, the burnt sienna. We're just playing around here tonight. Different people doing different things to keep themselves busy, I'm sure. I've been walking every day at the park near us. Seems to be getting busier every day. You know, it just isn't that much for people to do. These are water mixable oils. And this may be I don't know, a little challenging to get back off the canvas because these panels really grab it. We'll see. Putting a little water in to move things around. What are you doing these days to keep busy? I think as artists we're pretty lucky because we're used to being inside. A lot of artists, I do paint with a couple groups, but a lot of artists paint on their own a lot, so should look at it as an opportunity to spend time at home and in, especially if you normally work and you're an artist. Hone your skills a little bit, find a weak point and work on that. They have those 30-day challenges. Sometimes I see them on Facebook, though I've never done one. And some people will pick a particular thing to work on the whole month, which is a good idea, you know. So we're just getting some color on there. And with water, see, I can take this all the way back to the white panel, which is probably what we'll do for our lightest lights. You know, we'll just see how it goes. I know some people do work this way frequently. I don't, so I thought it would be fun. All right, I've used my view catcher. We'll set it up for an 8x10. Little thing slides back and forth like that. So get it set up for an 8x10. So we'll kind of sketch it on first. I'm going to use probably a little ultramarine blue so I can get the darkest darks. All right, let's look through here and see what we got. I'm going to run that plate off, I can tell you that, and one of the geraniums goes way up here. And I do like the idea of seeing some of the tablecloth down here. Trying to look where things land. One of the disadvantages to the water mixables is, well, I was going to say I'll be pulling off the paint if I put water in here, but the same thing holds true for traditional oils if you use a medium. This is a lot more sketching than I would normally do, you know, because I'm going to try to get the whole setup on here. Starting to get some fresh flowers, which is nice. I cut some daffodils. I've got a lot of tulips coming up, and I love tulips, so I'll probably be painting those again and again. I put them in last fall, so this will probably be my only year for them because they're pretty much, I think they're squirrel food. When I bought them, they were teasing me about that. I went in the fall to a garden store, and that's what the girl was telling me. They're squirrel food. You know, and I have never had this many before. That I think I'm going to have a lot of them. So I never want to cut them. This time with this many, I'm going to be cutting them and painting them, and so maybe you can watch me do some of that. I just love them. We'll run this apple off too. So that's kind of our shape. I mean, this plate runs up in here. Might have been nice to see the lip of the picture, but you can't. Okay, so I think we'll start this the way I would normally start, and we'll start with our darkest darks. Picking out a brush. My brushes are Rosemary and Company out of the UK. Most of them are anyway. I'll show you one close up. These are the Evergreen, which are a soft brush. All right, so we're going for our darkest darks first. And this time I'm putting a little more thought into it to try to get the correct value here. And we'll correct these shapes probably as we go along. That's the shadow under the geranium. I see a very dark dark inside the picture. And under that leaf. And my thought is to let this dry and then come back another night And then again, part of the challenge will be going at it with color, because color is tricky when you, as far as value, you know, you start, color can throw your eye off, I think. Looking at negative space, that's the handle between there, so I'm on the other side of the handle. I just heard from my daughter, and she did that Kroger pickup, which I've done once, and I'm trying to do again. It's almost impossible to get a time to even pick up now. But she told me she was real disappointed. She got about half of what she ordered and not much meat. They're the kind of people that don't freeze meat. They go and buy fresh over and over. We've never done that. All right, that's my shadow. And the shadow very close to the apple is darker, and it lightens up, of course, as it goes away. And I guess we should, we'll go ahead and paint in some of the background too. This is lighter but dark. Boy, it's going to annoy you, and I'll hang on to it. Let me see if I can tighten that down anymore. Okay, I'm looking. This is one of the things I did do. I told you I took a workshop last spring with Sarah Sedgwick, and this is one of the exercises we did one day. We spent a good part of the day doing a value study like this. I don't recall if we came back and put color on it. I think we may have just painted it in color the next day. I can't really remember. Okay, so kind of looking at the shapes of these blooms. We'll do what we have to correct things, you know. Got a shadow down here at the edge of the plate. Yeah, see, this is lighter to me than down here by the pitcher even. Not sure how well this will go. We'll just keep adjusting till we get it, I guess. One thing you can do to help you with this is to pre-mix a bunch of values. You know, do whatever, 3 values at least, I'd say, and pre-mix them and put them out on your palette. That would definitely be helpful. A little darker under there. my lightest light. Let's try something. We're going to go in and try to wipe out our lightest lights. You know, we're just we're going to pull off some of that. I can tell that's too dark. You know, we can even dip this brush in water, like down in here at the bottom of the pitcher, catching more light. So we'll pull some of that off. You know, and this is as light as we can go. So surprisingly, the really, I'm looking for highlights. Like if there were some bright white highlights on this picture, we couldn't wipe this all the way back to the white because obviously we'd need to go wider than that for our highlights. So something to think about. And the handle over here. Probably confusing to you to even see what I'm doing here, isn't it? It's a challenge for me too. Yeah, there are no highlights across here. Let me spin you around and show you what I'm looking at. Drop you down. That white part is right there, and it's pretty white. And the shadow from the leaf, that's a very dark, as is that in the picture. And inside the handle is pretty dark, as you can see, and the shadow. So spin you back around. I don't want to cut any of it off. Been known to do that. If you're a new subscriber, welcome. I appreciate that a whole lot. I get a lot more views than I have subscribers, so a lot of you, maybe you don't have a membership to YouTube. It's no big deal to create a membership. You just create a password, like with so many things. Please consider doing that, and then you can subscribe to my channel. You know, it'd be nice to get the feedback, and also if you subscribe, then they notify you when I put a video on that way too. You just hit that little bell down below. You know, I appreciate you watching no matter what, don't get me wrong, but I'd sure love to have you subscribe. Okay, and that dark hole in the handle is much darker than that, so let's lighten that up a little bit. I guess we'll go ahead and I'm going to move over to that plate and actually I'm squinting a lot, let me tell you that, and this to me feels brighter than the plate, and this is a bit of a warmer white. When I go to paint it in, this feels a bit more cool, but we're just going to start pulling some of this off for now. Maybe I'll do better with a paper towel. Let's wet a towel, and if this was traditional oils for you, you obviously would be using solvent to do this. Okay, we got a leaf hanging out here. Like I said, my plan is to get to the end and we'll photograph it and convert it to black and white and see how I did. You know, a lot of times we're not thinking that much about value, we're just matching color. I mean, we are thinking value, but it's just a different way to work. We should always be thinking value. I don't really mean that. If you paint a lot, it just kind of comes naturally. I think you're matching color and value. Tomorrow's supposed to rain, but the next day they're talking sunshine, so I am considering plein air painting in my car maybe. Might be nice enough to get out, but I've done it before. I did it last year. It was really fun. You just got to be really careful not to get paint in your car. But it was a bitter cold. I went on a trip and it was so cold. I did not want to be outside. And it was fun being in my car. Yeah, there's really not much value change in this plate. We've got a dark band there. I'm squinting to see, but I just don't see a lot of value change in it. We'll find out later if I'm wrong, huh? Maybe I'll use my little my little red window and take a, it should be helpful with the white objects. Let's look through there. Trying to tell if I'm seeing any value changes. This might be a little brighter in through here. The pictures, and this is a little dark yet, I can tell. And I can tell that this handle is a little too dark. Cleaning up the shape of the picture a little bit. All right, let's put that back down. All right, let's move on to the foliage, the green leaves. It's a weird way to work, you know. I normally would just mix up a pile of green and mass in the whole batch of leaves. That's usually the way I would work. I mean, I'm still kind of working that way. I'm kind of massing them in. I think that's kind of what I'll do, and then I'll go after the lighter parts of them. Won't it be nice when we have geraniums again? Obviously these are fake. Pretty good fakes, but not like the real ones. Got some little viney stuff coming over, like a little leaf here. Up here. The stems, as I squint, are pretty light. We'll do the same thing I normally would do, and we'll, like I said, we're just kind of massing them in. That's how I would do it. Let's do the same things with the geraniums. I think let's do this. Let's mass this in, and then we'll wipe out. Hey, you know what I've got a few of laying here? I have a few Q-tips. Let's try that for the stems. Hadn't planned that, but why not? I don't know if you're a fan or if you happen to know who Charlie Hunter is. He good artist. You can tell he was an illustrator in his background, very good drawing skills. But he uses water mixable oils, and a lot of his paintings are kind of monochromatic. They feel like old sepia photos almost. And I have one of his DVD. I think he only has one DVD. I purchased it. But he uses all kinds of tools. He's in there with Q-tips and little dental picks and all kinds of things. Yeah, I'm not a person that usually uses these. I brought them in here for something. Just kind of wiping out the shape of that leaf. Anything is fair, right? I think so. I've talked to my husband about all kinds of things. I'm driving crazy with painting talk, and there's some things that I don't think are the best way for you to grow as an artist. You know, I don't think tracing is. or projecting. I'm not saying they're wrong, and if you need to get something done quick and you're making money at it, go for it. But I think as far as growing as an artist and improving our drawing skills, I don't think those things are helpful. And I'll talk about somebody projecting something, and my husband's like, well, is that illegal? Or nothing's illegal, right? Again, if you're going to do those things, I think you need to do a fair amount of the other too, you know, drawing and kind of wiping out the shape. And there's some really nice lights in here we'll go after too. I am an impressionist, if you don't know that, and I'm not one to explain every little thing anyway, so. So there's some really bright highlights on these that will be fun later on, so kind of wiping those out where I see them. Will be interesting at the end to see just how far off I am. Probably a lot. See, this is something you could try. Seeing good art, you know, that other people do gets me fired up usually if I just don't seem to run out of things I want to paint. I guess I'm lucky that way. And if I'm not real inspired, I look around for things that will inspire me and I find something to paint. I luckily like doing still life, so there's always objects around to paint. But I'm ready to get outside and paint too. I'll be doing that before too long. The Tuesday group I paint with puts a plein air schedule together. I think I mentioned that, and they're talking about getting out in April, so that'll be here before we know it. We won't be able to get near each other, but that'll be okay outside, won't it? They say I walk in the park every day, and I just keep my distance. I went to the eye doctor today, and they took my temperature as soon as I came in, and they have a nurse there, and they don't let anybody go in with you. If somebody drives, they have to wait in the car. I appreciate that they're taking those secure measures, though. One lady, I was in the back there, and I could hear these two women came in, and the one was kind of yelling at the lady up front because she wanted to stay with the lady she brought. My goodness, you know? They're just trying to keep us all safe. Some people can be so difficult. Especially now, I think we need to be kind to each other. You know, we're all dealing with a crazy time we've never dealt with before. Okay, I'm squinting and looking. I feel like actually that the background, again, red is tricky, but I actually feel like the background is lighter than the blooms, at least part of it. So let's wipe some of that off. I wonder if I'm wrong about that, you know. We're going to find out. feel like some of these areas that's in shadow are fairly dark, actually. They look that way to me. I could have been easier on myself and not done red, probably, but I like red. Yeah, well, we want it to be a challenge, right? But this back here is darker. Let's keep it dark. It's darker than the geraniums. Let's mass these leaves in again, get them a little darker, and then decide where the lightest lights are. There's a lot of lights in them. Okay. It's a different way to work. Not my preferred way to work, to be honest with you. I mean, I could be laying color in, and I love color, so. But it's a slower way to work, and I'm thinking more only about value. And like I said, to give me something to do, right? Because what's the rush? Starting tomorrow in Ohio here, we're not only allowed to go out for essential things. I don't know what all that means, what all that covers. I plan to run to the post office tomorrow. I think I'm going to get arrested. I don't know how that works. You know, food's essential, and I feel sorry for the people that are unemployed right now. I saw my beautician today. Of course, they're not allowed to see clients, and she was at the grocery, and I was getting in the car, and she waved at me, and I opened the window, and I said, "You got any scissors on you?" She said, "A drive-by haircut, right?" But, you know, I know she can't afford to be without work for this time. Whoever thought this would happen? Wow. I'm probably going right back to where I was, right? Because I'm looking at these leaves and they're catching a lot of light. What I'm trying to do is to wipe out the lights and leave the darks. It's like layers of leaves. And this is a much, much pickier drawing than I would ever do. You know, I would dive in and do a bit of a drawing and then get going on my color normally. A few places really catching light. Trying to wipe those out. Up here, gosh, this is just completely white. Not white, but very, very light. a little edge on a leaf right there. When we start doing color, that'd be nice. And this is a dark leaf here. Bit of a stem coming over here, and then this area here gets lighter. Okay. You know, and it may be when we go to add in color that I have to adjust my drawing too, and that's okay. I can already see that this should be out here further. The lip of that picture. There's some curly cute things going on here that will be fun to paint. It's a different way to work, you know. I'm looking at red apples. I want to grab red. This apple here is dark down in here. I've got the challenge of the one apple being half green and half red. And I think just the color alone, let me show you, just the color alone, look at the green and look at the red. And there's a situation where I think the color fools the eye. The green looks lighter. When I look at it through my, see if you can see when you look at it through there what it looks like. It's really, see, the green and the red are really almost the same value. Yeah, what's that saying? Color value tells the story and color gets the glory. I mean, it does. We love color, but boy, it can really trick you, can it? So actually, this is really, I believe, all one value. Let's get that drawing correct for you. I'm looking all the way up to in there, and then it gets darker. There's a dark shape that runs across it. You know, had I not, and maybe that's cheating, had I not looked through there, I'm not sure what I would have thought and what I would have done. Now there's a much lighter value that runs across here. Lighter, really. I'm squinting, really squinting. Lighter than anything on the apple except the highlight. So let's see if we can pull some of that color out of there. It's a reflection off the tablecloth, actually, is what it is. It's a challenge to pull that off of there, but I don't want to go clear back to the white. because there's a highlight on here that's the lightest thing on there, a couple of highlights. And underneath it is my darkest dark. There's a shadow up there on the inside of the hole where the stem is, on the same side as the light. And we're going to stick our Q-tip and maybe we'll wipe out the highlights with that. This is the case where, because of multiple lights, I have more than one highlight, but I probably won't do more than one highlight. On this plate, there is like one highlight there. On the picture, I'm trying to see if I even see any. There's one there. There's like two little highlights. On the picture, there's a tiniest one right there. Okay. It's, you know, even in that dark color, I think that reads like an apple. Maybe I'm just imagining that. Okay, the one back there is not as light as this one, but it has a section that runs across here that's lighter than the rest of the apple. This down here is darker. That's the lightest section through there. Over here's a little bit light. I think we're getting some light from the picture. I'm having fun. I don't know if you all are enjoying watching this or not. Might be boring to you. Like I said, we'll let it dry here a couple days, and then we'll come back with color. And again, I'll have to think. I would probably be pre-mixing color, maybe. I don't know. I haven't decided, because we're going to really want to think about the color we lay in. What's the point of doing this work if you don't match the value with the color? I'm looking here. And let's wipe out the highlight on that guy. It's about right in here. Okay. Now I'm looking at the apple compared to the background. Right now it's kind of a lost edge. Can I see it when I squint? I can a little bit. So we'll lighten that up a little bit. Okay, the shadow, let's see. Very dark right here. Darker by the apple. And then much lighter as you move away. Okay. I'm looking at the shape of this plate too. It may need some work. And we may even know, I don't know, a lot of times to explain away the light's coming, sometimes you have to, like, that side would be more shadowed. I'm not seeing it though. It's where I've got the light. It seems to be mostly. Okay, I'm I'm looking at values. This seems a little dark to me. Okay, it's a bit lighter. Probably hard for you to tell what you're looking at, I imagine. I see that really, when I squint, that's really dark up there. And random darks throughout. And I'm not gonna, you know, even in this value study, I'm not gonna pick this to death. I would never do that when I was painting it, so. Still going to keep in mind how I would paint it, and I would mass these together. Now, as I look at the tablecloth, both of these appear warmer than this. This feels cooler. Now, it's pretty light too, so been at this almost an hour, so we'll be done in a few minutes here. I'm going to a little bit of light back there. Okay, let's look at this down here compared to everything else. It's fairly dark. You know, is it darker than the background? I feel as though it might be. I'm darkening some of this up so the lighter things will stand out. And I'm not claiming my drawing is dead on accurate, you know. But it's not as much about that, I don't think. All right. Really be interested to see what the value of these leaves are. They're fairly light in value. Let's look at our little view catcher again. Our little viewfinder. Look through that. Let me show you the whole setup through here too. Okay. See, there's the leaves. See, they're fairly light. From over here, I do feel like I see a bit of a highlight on that picture. Right in that area, maybe. All right, hang on there. Bring you back up. All right, do I want to do anything else before we photograph it? I'm not saying I nailed the drawing, that my proportions are exactly right, you know. A little bit lighter up into there. Yeah, I'm seeing things with that handle feels wrong. But we're not going to mess with it anymore. I think, hold on there. I'm going to get my iPad and we're going to photograph this and we're going to photograph the setup. Sorry about that, I dropped my mic. Come back to me. Hope that wasn't too annoying. Okay. All right, gonna photograph the, and again, I'm sure things are, you know, not as accurate on camera as they are in real life. Just something to think about in my defense. All right, I photographed them both. Now let's edit them. Just see how far off I am. I shouldn't need to edit this one, right? I mean, the idea that we're not editing this one. Let's cancel that. Okay, we're going to edit the color one into black and white. I think that makes sense. Maybe I do need to convert it to black and white because it's so warm. Let's do that. As I look at it here, it's hard to judge. Mono, okay. And again, don't judge my drawing here. Okay, well, let's see. I'm coming in. All right. Again, this may not be perfectly accurate. There's the setup, photographed and converted to black and white. See, I don't really see any highlights. One little tiny one maybe on the plate. And the picture and the plate are obviously very light. Doesn't make my painting look too good. It's kind of a mess. All right, let's go back and forth here. It's a little harder to do than I thought. Like, it's a little harder to convert that apple to actually black and white. That green section is a lot lighter in this picture, but when we look at it through that red window, it's not. Anyway, that's the black and white. Well, I'm just going to leave it dry a couple days, and like I said, and then it will be a challenge to come back with color, and assuming we got the values right. Let me put you in front of it. It's a very warm painting because I used burnt sienna. Yeah, I was thinking more about value than anything, trying to, duplicate the value. I was thinking more about that than drawing, or, of course, we're not doing color yet, so looks to be kind of a mess. But it'll be fun to come back and lay color on it and do what we have to do. I just thought we'd try this. Always trying to think of something different. It's funny, the leaves almost look green, don't they? Well, why don't you give this a try, and something to keep you busy and a new challenge. All right, thank you for joining me. Like and subscribe. Good night.